The story begins by showing a masseuse named Yu Subo, but behind his work, Mi is a kung fu master assigned by the state to be the protector of special agents. One night while massaging, he gets an emergency call from the intelligence headquarters. Yui immediately entered his secret room and prepared to receive orders. This time he got a mission to rescue an agent who was kidnapped by a ninja group. Arriving at the kidnapping location, he saw an agent who was tied to a satellite dish. Seeing this, Yu approached him at once. But unfortunately, he was caught and immediately got an attack from the ninjas. Because of his kung fu skills, Yu finally could defeat all the ninjas and save the secret agent. The next day, Yu told the high school kids what happened last night while waiting for his daughter to come home. But everyone there thought he was making up a story because nothing made sense. Not long after, his daughter Nathalie saw Yu. But Nathalie avoided her father and went home alone. Apparently, she feels embarrassed because she has a father who likes to tell stories. On the other hand, then shown Yu's first child named Nikki. He is a very talented dolphin handler. Later that evening, Nathalie called her boyfriend while watching TV. But Nikki, who had just arrived home, immediately changed the channel. And that made Nathalie very upset. Until finally, they both directed their respective kung fu moves to control the TV remote. The fight stopped when Nathalie's friend came to stay at her house, and not long after Yu came with dinner. But just as he wanted to put the food down, the table collapsed. In the end, they all ate at another table. Then, as they were eating, Yu started telling stories and cracking jokes. Hearing that, Nikki immediately finished his dinner and went into the room because he felt embarrassed by his father's jokes. After dinner was over, Yu went to his room and confided in the photo of his deceased wife. He complained that life was getting harder, especially after his wife's not there. In addition, Nikki and Nathalie's attitudes also changed drastically. They often felt ashamed of having a father who worked as a masseur. The next day, Yu took his daughter to school as usual. In the car, Nathalie asked her father to be quiet and not to tell her about kung fu fighting anymore, because later that night her boyfriend would come to the house. Even though everything Yu told was the truth, his children never believed him. Arriving at school, Nathalie felt guilty about the argument in the car. Finally, she sent an apology text to her father. On the other hand, a former CIA agent is holding an old man as hostage and torturing him. Apparently, the old man is a former Hong Kong intel who has important information. If he didn't tell him, the former CIA agent would kill his entire family. Since there was no other choice, the old man told him all the information. After getting the information, the ruthless man finished him off. Meanwhile, Yu went back to work as a masseuse. Not long after, the former CIA member came with his son. He then introduced himself as Rocco. Rocco wanted to ask about the hiding place of an intelligence agent named Tai Chai Lung. Hearing that, Yui emphasized that he didn't know him at all. Rocco then explained why he was looking for the agent. Apparently, he had been assigned to hunt down terrorists in Hong Kong 12 years ago. But when he found his target, he was attacked by Tai Chai Lung. And because of this incident, Rocco became completely paralyzed and has to use a wheelchair until now. Based on the information he got from the old man earlier, Yu was the only person who knew Tai Chai Lung's location because he worked as a protector of special agents. However, Yu says that Rocco has the wrong person, and an upset Rocco threatens to make a mess of his life. Later that night, Nathalie's boyfriend, Jason, comes to have dinner with her family. He also brought flowers and a gift containing a little pig for Nathalie. During dinner, Jason introduced himself to Yui and Nikki. He also told them about his work as a musician and music composer. Meanwhile, Nathalie and Nikki teased each other to the point of poking their feet under the table. After the meal was over, Yu went to his son's room, then asked Nikki to be more understanding to his sister. He said that even though he had been taught kung fu since childhood, it didn't mean that he had to use it every time he fought with Nathalie. When it was late at night, Yu couldn't sleep, thinking about his meeting with Rocco this morning. In addition, he also had a premonition that there was a great danger that would threaten his family. As a result, he decided to meditate at his massage parlor while waiting for the threat from Rocco. It wasn't long before his premonition proved correct, as Rocco sent the hitman to finish him off. Seeing them coming, Yui immediately prepared and used his kung fu skills. But because he was no longer young, he was look overwhelmed. Moreover, he had to fight 4 assassins at once. In the end, Yui fell and was caught by the assassins. At Rocco's headquarters, the assassins sadistically tortured Yu to get him to open up about Tai Chai Lung's location. But as a special agent protector, he would never divulge any secrets. Already disgusted, Rocco directly electrocuted him. Not giving up just like that, Rocco also used another method. And this time he brought a doctor who would inject Yu with a serum. The serum made Yui hypnotized and hallucinated so that he would tell all his secrets unconsciously. After getting the information, Rocco finally got what he wanted, and it turned out that all the data of the special agent protected by Yui was hidden in Nikki and Nathalie's amulet necklaces. At the same time, an old man called Uncle Chu came to Yu's massage shop. He was very surprised by the condition of the place that had been destroyed. Uncle Chu immediately called Nikki and told him about it. When he entered the shop, Nikki was just as shocked as Uncle Chu, but he was even more surprised when he found a secret button behind a painting. Nikki and Uncle Chu then entered the secret room, and there Nikki found photos of his father escorting the president in the nindies. Then he realized something, that all this time, his father had never lied about his work as a special agent protector. In fact, his father also told him since he and Nathalie were children. On the other hand, Nathalie is rehearsing on the theater stage for the art performance event at her school. But in the middle of her practice, Rocco's men came and tried to arrest her. Luckily, Nikki arrived in time to help her, and without further ado, the siblings deployed their kung fu moves that had been trained since childhood. But unfortunately, Rocco's men were too strong to defeat, so in the end, they both chose to run away from there. Not just silent, Rocco's men immediately chased them. But fortunately, there was Jason who was waiting for Nathalie's return. As a result, they asked for his help so they could escape as far as possible. Arriving at Jason's house, Nikki told him what happened to his father, to make Nathalie feel guilty, especially since she has always been indifferent to her father. In the middle of the discussion, Jason gave Nathalie a change of clothes and invited her to stay temporarily in the house. When she wanted change, Nathalie accidentally found a memory card in her amulet necklace. She had thought that it was a protective charm. Seeing that, Jason immediately entered it into the computer, hoping to get a clue to save Yu, their father. However, the data requires another memory card, which turns out to be in Nikki's necklace. Without wasting time, Nikki and her sister immediately went to his workplace to retrieve the necklace that was left behind. But when they took it, they were attacked again by the hitmen. This time, Nikki and Nathalie put up an equal fight, and although Rocco's men use weapons, they always could fend them off. Because of the kung fu knowledge taught by their father, the siblings were finally able to defeat the assassins. After the fist fight, they both heard the sound of an incoming call from the cell phone of one of the hitmen. Apparently, the person who called was Rocco. Nikki asked about his father's location, but Rocco gave a condition that they must bring Tai Chai Lung within 24 hours if they wanted to save his father. Back at Jason's house, Nikki handed over the memory card to find Tai Chai Lung as soon as possible. Unfortunately, they need Yui's voice password. Fortunately, Nathalie found a recording of her father's voice in her cell phone, and without waiting long, Jason immediately edited the recording according to the access code on the memory card. While waiting for Jason, Nathalie helped Nikki to treat his wounds. Here they both looked very sad and regretful for not trusting their father all this time. At the same time, Yoon attempted to escape from Rocco's base by removing the chains on his hands and feet. Because of his kung fu techniques, he could remove his hands without getting hurt. But when he wanted to leave there, he was intercepted by Rocco's son, who turned out to be very skilled in martial arts. Unexpectedly, the little boy could defeat Yu easily. On the other hand, Nathalie has just woken up from her nightmare. She saw her father shot dead. Moments later, Jason informed her that he had managed to open the data on the memory card. Without lingering, they immediately searched for Agent Tai Chai Lung's name, and it turns out that the person is Uncle Chu. But when they want to go to Uncle Chu's place, Jason suddenly locked the door. Jason then explained that he was a special agent protector, and before meeting Nathalie, he received orders from his superiors to replace Yui, who was approaching retirement age. Therefore, Jason wouldn't allow Nikki and Nathalie to kidnap Uncle Chu, even if it was to save their father. According to Jason, Yui must be willing to sacrifice because it is his duty. Jason then went to Uncle Chu's chicken noodle shop, where he told Uncle Chu that Yui had been kidnapped by Rocco. He had to hide outside the city before Rocco caught him. However, Uncle Chu didn't want to leave, because he had to look after the shop and also his adopted grandson. He eventually outwitted Jason and ran away as fast as he could. After successfully taking Uncle Chu down, Jason tried to persuade him and emphasized that Rocco could have finished him off. However, Uncle Chu didn't want to go anywhere, especially since he was old enough for fisticuffs. With no other choice, Jason was used force to arrest him. Unfortunately, Uncle Chu was able to escape by jumping to the opposite building. Seeing this, Jason also jumped into the same building, but Uncle Chu didn't still stunning. He immediately pulled out a hose to knock him down. On the other hand, Nikki and his sister were trying to get out of Jason's house through the air vents. They would do anything to save their father. Long story short, they made it to Uncle Chu's food stall. Then, a stall employee told them that Uncle Chu was running away. Not long after, they finally found Uncle Chu. Nikki and his sister persuaded him to help their father. They even got down on their knees so that he would surrender to Rocco. Feeling sorry, Uncle Chu remembered when Yui saved his life. In other words, he still owed him his life. Therefore, he decided to save Yui. In the late afternoon, Nikki called Rocco and told him that he had found Tai Chai Lung. Upon hearing this, Rocco immediately sent the meeting location. Once there, Nikki and his sister didn't immediately hand over Uncle Chu because they wanted to see their father's condition first. Rocco also showed Yu who was locked up in a tube, and if not immediately released, then he will run out of oxygen and die within 8 minutes. When he heard Rocco's threat, Uncle Chu finally came out of hiding. After seeing him in person, Rocco looked very angry. Because his grudge was too great, Rocco became out of control and mobilized his men to finish off Uncle Chu and the Yu family. With epic cooperation, the three of them were able to defeat Rocco's men without difficulty. Rocco then ordered his other men to make Uncle Chu as paralyzed as he was, but Nikki wouldn't leave it at that. On the other hand, Nathalie, who could defeat Rocco's men, she tried to save her father. However, she was blocked by Rocco's other men. After defeating him, she tried to get the father out of the tube. Unfortunately, the glass tube was very difficult to break. When she was desperate, her father suddenly drew something from the tube that made Nathalie remember a deadly move. And without wasting time, she immediately used the move. Meanwhile, Nikki was attacked by Rocco's son who had defeated Yu. Inevitably, he was forced to fight the little boy. Even though the little boy was very agile, Nikki could beat him quite easily. But suddenly, he was attacked by Rocco. Because of the kungfu techniques taught by his father, Nikki was able to give Rocco a lesson. However, he chose not to kill him. He wanted to make him feel remorse to repent and become a good person. Nikki then rushed to find an oxygen tank so that his father wouldn't be out of breath, and in the end, they all returned safely. At the end of the story, Yui and his children became closer. In addition, he also decided to retire from his job as a special agent protector. On the other hand, Jason apologized to Nathalie for lying to her all this time. But from now on he promised not to repeat it again. With this result, the movie ended.